Welcome back, everyone. Today we're jumping into everyone's favorite section of the PTE Academic exam, and that's write an essay. 200 to 300 words, 20 minutes. This is the biggest section of the exam, takes up the most time, and is worth a lot of points. So let's go through some general templates, and we'll take a look at what we need to identify before we start writing. Now, if you've been following the channel for a while, you might know that there was some changes in August of 2025. So our goal is to stay updated with all of the changes, letting you know what you need to plan for and expect when you get into the exam. So the writing part is grouped together with speaking and writing, and in total, this section of the exam is 40 minutes. However, the writing, you get 10 minutes for summarize a written text and 20 minutes for write an essay. Today, we're focusing only on write an essay. If you're interested more on summarize a written text, check out our other video. We have lots more about the entire speaking and writing section of the exam. Of course, you are allowed to take notes on a piece of paper during this section, and I do recommend it. Out of the 20 minutes, you're going to save a few minutes at the beginning to understand the question prompt, and a few minutes at the end, about 2 to 3 minutes, to proofread. So actually 20 minutes, we're looking at a lot less than that. Now for write an essay, there are about 6 different essay types, and it's really important that we understand each type. So first we'll read the question prompt, we'll identify what type of question it is, we'll plan our responses, then we'll write, then we'll check. How many minutes for proofreading? About 3 minutes is usually enough, 3 to 4 minutes if you need some extra time. Now, although there are 6 different essay prompts, we're going to use the same format for pretty much every essay. 200 to 300 words, but we'll have 4 paragraphs. An introduction, 2 body paragraphs, and a short conclusion. I say short because generally students are running out of time and you might only get a few sentences into that conclusion. That's okay, that's normal, it's kind of expected, to be honest. So let's go through the different question types. 2 of them you need to know. And stay tuned because I'm going to tell you about those 2 really important essay types towards the middle of the video. But first, all essay questions are going to look like this. The only thing you have is a copy, cut, and paste button, as well as a word count with a maximum of 300 words. You have 20 minutes to plan, write, etc. So the question will ask you something, and within that question, you need to identify what type of question is it. Is it a problem solution? Is it a cause and effect essay? Is it a personal opinion? The first step to getting high marks is being able to identify the question type, because everything else will revolve around that, such as your writing. Let's take a look at the 2 most important ones. These are extremely common. The first one is for an opinion, agree or disagree. You're going to look for prompt words like, to what extent do you agree? Do you think it is? Personal opinion, you need to create the opinion. Now, even if you don't have an opinion on this topic, it doesn't matter because the exam is not looking for your creativity, they're just looking for structure. Let's take a look at number 2, which is the advantage, disadvantage, extremely common. You're looking for words like benefit, advantage, drawbacks, outweigh. That will organize your 2 body paragraphs very, very nicely. Now, I want to show you a template that can still be used in 2025, but before we look at the template, we need to understand the question types and what they look like. So here's an example of an agree, disagree type of question. It might say, the rapid development of technology has transformed the way people communicate, work, and access information. While some people believe that these technological advancements have greatly improved quality of life, others argue that they have led to increased social isolation and dependence on digital services. So already in the question, I'm seeing 2 different types of people. Some think it's great, some think it's not great. And it's going to ask you, do you think the overall impact of digital technology is positive or negative? You need to take a stance on one of those areas, agree or disagree. And again, the exam doesn't care what your real thoughts are. you can choose the easier option. If it's easier to argue for or against something, totally fine. Just make sure that you're focusing on your sentence structures. Side note, I'm Scott from HZadeducation. Every week we upload videos to help you get the highest score on PTE Academic. The test is changing and we're changing with it, so be sure to come back to the channel and check for regular updates. All right, let's continue. Now, an advantage-disadvantage essay, little bit different. Many cities have invested heavily in large-scale infrastructure projects, such as public transportation systems and commercial developments, in order to stimulate economic growth and attract investments. However, such projects often require significant public funding and may negatively affect communities. What are the advantages and disadvantages of large infrastructure projects? Now, I want you to remember that inside the essay question or the prompt, it has a lot of detail and a lot of information. At least from the examples that I've seen from the times that we've taken tests or mock tests, they tend to give you substance. They give you information. We're going to use that information in our introduction paragraph. Let's look. You're going to organize your paragraph like this. We use the same general templates for all of our students, and they score high in the writing section. Introduction paragraph, we'll look at that more in depth, but you need to state your opinion or state the question type. Body paragraphs, we're going to get deep into transitional words, complex sentences, compound sentences, because that's the meat of your essay. Your conclusion is going to summarize it up very nicely. It's likely 2 to 3 sentences. Let's go, introduction paragraph. I'm using the first example here so you can see the question type. First sentence, introduction sentence, you're simply going to pull ideas from the question prompt. This is very important. And address the who, the what, and the when, if there's a when. So if the question type says modern days, or if the question says people living in cities, urban dwellers, we need to identify that in our topic sentence. So you might say, recently, has become an important factor in, especially regarding. So it's a nice compound sentence. It's going to be a big sentence because you need to address the who, what, and when. In the middle of this paragraph, you might have 2 sentences, maybe 2. Here is where you give some more background information. If you have a problem solution paragraph, you might start to use a complex sentence and address the problem solution. Some might say, however, others disagree. If it's an opinion essay, well, there you share your opinion. So, middle of the introduction, you start to address the question type. The last sentence is considered your thesis. This is where you really say what you are doing in this essay. You can use first person. I, me, that's okay. You can use first person. So, this essay will examine something and something before presenting a clear evaluation of the essay or the issue. This is quite formal, but if you simply just say, this essay will look at the problems of environmental impact and how we can solve it, that will be enough for your thesis. Just make it very clear that this is what you want to talk about. Let's go on to body paragraphs. Body paragraphs, we're going to use the format CER. This structure should be used for all PTE academic essays. Introduction statement. What is the purpose of this essay? This can be a simple sentence. We'll have about 30% simple sentences and about 70% complex compound sentences. When we get to our claim, I want you to use very bold, certain language. So try not to say, it might be better if we use environmental, sustainable products. Instead, say, we must use sustainable products, or it is necessary to. Bold language with complex compound sentences always scores higher than weak language with simple sentences. So keep that in mind. Then you're going to share some type of an example. It can be an example from your life or a global example. If you can think of a company that uses some products, or if you can think of a recent digital technology that's transformed people's lives, such as work from home, remote working, Zoom. These are all worldly examples we can use. Finally, we present the reasoning, or why does this matter? Try to have one more complex sentence here where you present why it matters. Connect it back to the main purpose of that essay. In your conclusion sentence, you're going to simply tell the reader what the purpose of this paragraph was. Now, I understand if you do 2 body paragraphs, you'll probably exceed the 300 words if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sentences. So what you can do is try to combine sentences, or perhaps your reasoning and your conclusion would be 1 sentence. We're aiming for 4 sentences per paragraph. The conclusion paragraph, a little bit shorter. So in the conclusion paragraph, I simply have 2 sentences here. You can read through it all, pause the video. I don't want to bore you by reading this, but this is my best attempt to write the essay. So I need to identify in the introduction what was the purpose of it, and then you can see my opinion right here. So that is my thesis. I give some examples here. So we have as a result, I use good transitional words. Oh, here's the example. For example, students and professionals, this matters because, and you can see the reasoning and conclusion is my last sentence. I did that again with some more transitional words. However, it is important to acknowledge, necessary. While it's a valid concern, blah, 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 this demonstrates, blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking about transitional words and complex sentences. It's very common to start your conclusion with in conclusion, totally acceptable. And finally, therefore, that's my last statement. So if you follow this general template, you will do very well on the Write Essay section for PTE Academic. Remember to always give yourself 2 to 3 minutes for proofreading at the end to catch any mistakes. Any errors will give you -1 point. So yes, make sure that there are no spelling, no grammar, or punctuation errors. Now, if you want more information like this, if you're getting ready for the PTE Academic test, then make sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video. You know it helps us, it helps you, and that's our main purpose here. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. See you next time.